Hey everybody, this is ManuFracture, brand strategist and founder of ManuFracture, here today with another episode of Ambitions of an Agency. Today we're going to talk about how to get more clearer on your positioning and how you can communicate better. So basically what I've been doing so far, I've been getting a lot of calls lately. I've been doing this thing, I've been getting on the sales calls, going through all the motions. The thing is that none of the the statements or the things I'm saying of what I do for clients is going through them at the moment. I'm reaching to a point where there's a disconnect between the two, basically. And you got to see this, because when you start realizing that kind of messaging and kind of the way you speak to people and communicate to people on the phone or with everything that you do, when people ask you what do you do, you need to be on their wavelength, so that they get what you're saying. So I'm going to just talk about here a few things I'm learning about how I am basically distilling and taking out all the fluff, so to say, out of a positioning statement or out of a statement or an elevator pitch or whatever, because sometimes you can make your elevator pitch, and the thing is it can be great. You might think that it sounds amazing to you, but it doesn't sound amazing to them. And that's the whole disconnect there, because sometimes it's a matter of really just you have way too much knowledge on the subject that you put everything in clear features that you understand, but those features don't make any sense to other people. And these are keywords like, in this case, branding, for example. Branding is a huge buzzword. Marketing content, message, funnels, sales pages, like all this type of stuff. It's all kind of jargon. So let's say that you have you yourself, how an airplane flies. You know that when someone says, an airplane flies because it has two wings and there's thrust or whatever, and it flies, basically, right? So you can know that when someone says, an airplane flies because it has wings, you can immediately know what that means. Whereas if an aeronautics engineer were to explain to you all the little intricacies and details of said plane and how the thrust works and how all this stuff works, you would get lost immediately. Go, oh, what do you mean by that? You'd get incredibly lost right off the bat. So that's the first thing, is kind of getting rid of the jargon words and kind of understanding how can you say this, in a very simple format, like without any jargon, as if it were to an everyday person. Because the best bet is that if you can say it to an everyday person, they'll understand it better. So that's the first thing, taking out all unnecessary jargon. Second thing is about connecting the gap between the state that they're in and to the desired point that they want, right? It's not about, the actual tools in between. So you really need to get to that desired state, what they actually want. Increase in revenue, better performance, not working as hard. Usually, again, it's a pain and a gain, taking away themselves from a current situation that is causing them a lot of pain, and then taking them to a place that actually gives them, a desired situation, a lot of gain, a lot of, whatever, more money, more business, less time, more sanity, whatever it may be, right? That's a key aspect. So your design is just a vehicle, or your services is just a vehicle for that desired state, so to say. And you have to communicate that within your positioning statement or when you're saying your elevator pitch. So those are the two things. So those are the two things. Making sure that jargon is taken out, all of it. Make it very clear, as you were supposed to, describe to a 5-year-old, or in your case, just being able to describe to a lay person. And second, really understanding it from a pain to a gain point of view, basically. And so I'm going to show you here in the next couple clips how I'm going through at the moment through my positioning statement, and kind of all the different iterations I've actually gone through with my positioning statement, and kind of show you, oh my God, there's so much work to be done. And I will just want to show you the exact way or how many iterations you have to actually go through before you hit a good positioning statement, so to say. I'm going to edit this in later, I believe. So here is, I'm just going to go through these different sort of copy or different types of messaging that I was been using for a while now. I think this has been the last 6 months or so, and you can see how I'm constantly tweaking and improving on something like so basic as, well, what, it's like a positioning statement, right? Like a positioning statement stays forever, right? Well, no, like that's the whole thing, right? And what I've been trying to show you in the last, like I bring up the 2 points, like jargon and like the perception of what your target market looks at and sees in your product or service, or how you're communicating that makes all the difference in making a sale or not making a sale. So yeah, so basically going through here, you can see here the home page, generating qualified sales calls for commercial real estate companies using client converting assets. Okay, so first of all, yeah, with my thing, client converting assets, that's a jargon term. Um, Qualified sales calls, I mean, that's okay, I guess. But overall, you can see here that it was just kind of, and this is just the copy for my old funnel, I believe. But this was basically what I was going for a long time, and didn't get much on that. So, but let's go back really to where I was doing this. So, position statement, missing statement, they're all the same really for the most part. But you can see here, I help, help, help. So there's a lot of drafting, as you can see. The process is a lot of drafting on the positioning statement, because you never get it the first time right. So you're always trying to, you know, get and draft. And what I do like to do is I like to color code different things. Maybe if I made uh, a slight modification in the positioning statement, I like to basically come in here and color in a different color. So yeah, that's there. But you can see here, still too much jargon, crafting customer-centric brand systems. What the fuck does that mean, man? Like, I'm looking back at this, and this was what, November 6th, 2018? Like, what the fuck were you thinking? What the fuck are you thinking? Implementing user-centric brand assets. As you can see, so it's a kind of like, obviously hindsight is 2020, and you can always look back at this and you can kind of say like, oh my god, why the fuck did you do it like that? And it's like, well, because you're still learning, and it's kind of like you're still learning how to actually, create a statement that resonates and that actually communicates properly to your target market. And this will vary from different markets to market, but overall, you can see an ongoing trend is jargon, you know, but for the most part, so this is the stuff that doesn't really resonate and doesn't is not on a wavelength or a knowledge level, so to say, of the target market, right? A real estate broker doesn't really. I mean, what does a crafting customer-centric brand assets mean? Do you see what I mean? Like this, and maybe you're guilty of this type of stuff as well, and you might have to look into how you're describing your services. But if you're saying something like this or like that, you know, or you're using the word brand or messaging or any other thing that is in our industry is our jargon that we use, then it would cut it out immediately. So yeah, this is the contact page. Yeah, so these were the positioning statements. Then coming up to let's see, coming up to now, and this is like the 5.0 one because it's been through so many like different generations of positioning statements, and you can see it's a quick iterations, because what I do is I go out to the market, I immediately ask for feedback on it, or well, I don't ask for feedback. I go out, I immediately, say the offer when the part of the in the part of the sales calls when it's supposed to come, like what's the positioning statement, whatever it may be, right, immediately. And then, I understand exactly what I need to do to modify the data and all this stuff. And then I have people I talk to, and people that are like mentors, and people that are guides that I need at the moment, that can kind of help me see through basically all the bullshit that I've been kind of spouting to the people, the potential prospects that I've been talking to, and just really learning what can communicate better. And so adjust, optimize your marketing content again. So this is getting better, right? This is getting better, and you can see I'm doing more iterations so that your message resonates with your ideal client, attracts more of them without needing paid traffic. It's a bit more specific, right? All marketing content message, but again, we're still using jargon. Unfortunately, if I were to talk to this and say this to a 5-year-old or a caveman, this wouldn't work ultimately. And you gotta really, gotta take. So anytime you notice these type of things, you've got to really understand that this is not stuff that this is gonna just fall on deaf ears. Basically, it may mean something to you, but it's just gonna fall on deaf ears, right? And so that's the main thing there. And then also the other thing is to understand, again, the problem that you're solving. You're going through all these calls, you're doing all this stuff. You need to, at some point, when you're going through all these, calls and stuff, and if you're not on calls, maybe you're at networking events, if you're at meetups, you're talking to people, people that you think that are going to be your ideal clients, or people that you think will be your clients, you're talking to them, really realize what their problem is, and then put that problem in a way they understand that you're making the connection to your solution, basically, right? It's like, oh no, yeah, I have this problem. Well, yeah, well, this thing that I do actually solves the thing that you're saying at the moment. Does that help you? Is that okay with you? And that's the way you need to be thinking, and not thinking, oh, well, this will help you because I know it does. As to what? What data do you actually have on the audience to make that statement? You don't. And many designers do that all the time, thinking they're going to uh, convince someone. And on the off chance that they do convince someone, they don't actually help the client out. They're just doing a design service purely, and they're not really helping the client out. So this miscommunication causes more problems. So increase your customer value by 50% higher. This is getting better, right? I'm starting to kind of lessen, obviously marketing content, maybe, small key adjustments to whatever comes in contact with a customer, or whatever you're using to communicate with your customer, right? Just make it more clear, more concise, and that's what I'm doing here. And this is a learning process for me as well. That's why I'm taking you through this, so you can see exactly how I'm going through this. So, more by giving them a complete branded content overall. Again, I kind of went back to branded content just to see if it could work. Didn't work again, but that's fine. Complete audio, brand, messaging. So this is where I'm currently at the moment. I'll test this one out for a while. You guys, so, doing, what are you guys saying? How are you coming across? What are you guys saying? How you're coming across that make or break the effectiveness of those things. And that's mainly it, right? Because all my clients have are these different things, and these different assets, so to say, or these different touch points, these different things that come in contact with their ideal clients, whatever it may be, a website, a print advertisement, whatever it may be. And they're so-called touch points, because the customers come in touch with those things before they make the decision to buy with my clients, with the brokerage, with the real estate broker, whoever it may be, right? And so really, it's just by improving the performance of the customer touch points, or what it is you're interacting with. And then you don't need to put that much work every day. That's like taking away the pain right there, and you get to see better results from whatever it is that you put out there. So that's what I'm working on currently, and it will get probably better as I continue drafting and creating. But as you can see, this starts to get more into the realm of, a true benefit, a true positioning statement that communicates properly. Whereas something beforehand, if we go back here, you know, generate a consistent amount of leads by enhancing their business image, stand out, centric brand assets. It's all too processy based, and it doesn't really help as much. So I'm going to work with that raw content there. Well, I'm going to work with this raw content here, and I'm going to see how I can keep tweaking it to basically validate the statement itself. So yeah, that's a kind of an overview of my process and how I basically narrowed down positioning statements. So that's it for another episode of Ambitions of an Agency. If you like this, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, all the good YouTube stuff, and I will see you in the next one. See ya. Bye.